Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. We are live here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. Glad to be back with you live from the Fortified Compound in Phoenix, Arizona. It is already the end of November 2013. This is the November 30th edition of the No State Project. Glad to be with you. We'll be taking your calls today. And going to have another guest. We'll have a guest on. Hopefully, we'll get him on in the next half hour or so. But we will be taking your calls. The number is 218-632-9399. It's 218-632-9399. Oh, what a week it has been, and I'm going to do my best to get to everybody. I've got wow. I would have liked this to have been a call to shame, but I'm working on some new equipment, and I did not actually get to record the audio, but it was quite something. It was yesterday, and I think I was on the verge of having a bureaucrat in Canada cry. A woman named Sandra with the Canadian Revenue Agency, I think for the first time, realizing that she steals for a living, that she's destroying people's lives. And finally, I think for the first time ever, she's been confronted with that, and she couldn't argue with it. But hey, when you're talking about just facts, talking about just the evidence, it's kind of tough to argue with that, especially when I'm doing it based on their own opinions and their own statements. So looks like we're gonna have another busy day here, and I appreciate this, especially since I don't typically watch football. I don't typically watch team sports. But we have family over, so we're kind of watching some of the big rivalries. So I'm really glad that we've got people who are setting some time aside to listen here on LRN.FM and to the No State Project. So I want to go right to the phones. We have area code 207. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is David. I'm from Maine. And
Yeah, David, I need you to speak up a bit. For some reason, the volume's really, really low.
All right, let me try switching off speaker. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that will do.
All right, very good. So, I'm calling from Maine. I have a FTA in New York. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to feedback.
That we're here, and apparently you're not. Okay, that's always what we like to see. There's a problem with the call. Apparently, this is going to be an issue on my side. So let me see if we can bring him back. This is just going to be one of those days. Why would we ever have the No State Project without a tech issue? So I have some new equipment, but I don't think that's the problem. Do we have David in Maine back on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You dropped out there for a little bit. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm getting some feedback on my end.
Well, we're not getting. I don't believe it's going out over the air. I can't hear it, so the guys can let me know if the audio is really bad.
Well, at any rate, I'm calling about an issue I have in New York.
Okay.
I have an FDA, and I'm not sure exactly how to engage in the dialogue to start questioning about jurisdiction.
Well, I don't know if you're on a cell phone or not, but just for the people who are listening who don't know what you mean by FTA, I'm going to assume that that's the standard failure to appear?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So what happened? You got scheduled for, some cop gave you a traffic ticket and you didn't show up?
Yeah, it's for driving without a license and speeding.
Okay. And any particular reason why you didn't show up?
I'm not very punctual and very good with keeping my dates with work.
And how important is it to answer such ridiculous complaints from these people anyway?
Right.
I get that. And what part of New York is this in? Oh, boy, we're doing really bad today. We're breaking up here. What part of New York was that again? Yep, it's just like we normally have here on the No State Project. It's been a while, though, since we had a tech issue like that. do about bringing
Right.
that down?
Go on.
I'm sorry, you're back now. What?
It was Green Village.
Green Village. Okay.
Yes.
And when did you get this failure to appear?
I'm not sure exactly the date they issued it. It was probably about 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah. I've been living in Maine for about 3 years.
Oh, okay. So you just want to address this now? Well, my typical thing is to, always challenge jurisdiction. Just file a motion to dismiss on the failure to appear on a lack of jurisdiction, and show that there was a lack of evidence proving jurisdiction for the original charges. Well, what's the point in having to show up on a complaint when the cop hasn't taken even 5 seconds to show that there's any evidence at all of jurisdiction?
I totally agree. So all I have to do is file a motion to dismiss?
That would get the process started, yes. Start with a motion to dismiss, pointing out that there is no evidence of jurisdiction for any of the charges.
Now, generally, if I file the motion, is someone going to contact me, or do I have to follow up?
Well, they generally won't, unless they deny it and send, right away, you're not going to hear anything. What they should do is there should be a prosecutor filing a response defending the failure to appear any of the charges. If that, but so what I would do is I would keep up on it, because there may even be, if there's a failure to appear, there may actually be a warrant for your arrest now. Given that it's New York, it's pretty likely that there's a warrant for your arrest. So if you
right.
So if you get stopped on something else, or a cop just decides, hey, it's David's turn to be protected here today, I'm going to protect this guy, you're going to go to jail. So
right.
I would have someone call up and see if there is in fact a warrant. Maybe call down the court. Find out.
Well, I don't think there is, and I've actually had issues here in Maine, and haven't had any warrants.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would start with the motion to dismiss. I'm not actually familiar with Green Village. Can you give me some kind of reference? Where is it? What's the next biggest town or city?
It's probably close to Binghamton.
Binghamton. Okay. So it's
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I don't blame you for not wanting to go back there. Well, then again, how much warmer is it going to be in Maine?
Yeah, it's about the same temperature, but it's probably about an 8.
Kind of doing real bad with David today. Hopefully that it's because he's on a cell phone and not all the other callers are going to be quiet like that. Or maybe it's just a Skype issue. Are you back? Well,
yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it is my cell phone.
Oh, you're on a cell phone. So let's hope we can chalk that up to the reason why we're having the issue.
Yeah.
It would be. I actually, truth be told, I'm lucky to be on the air right now, because maybe 2 minutes before the show went, there's like one cord here that all the equipment is attached to, and it got stuck on my foot. I pulled everything off the table, my mixing board, the computer, this mic, right onto the floor, not even 2 minutes before the show even started. So let's hope that, I'd be lucky if it was just the cell phone that's causing this tech issue.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, well, why after 3 years, though, are you looking to finally take care of this, though?
Well, I've driven around in Maine for a little while without a license.
Oh, nice.
And what has happened is, over the time, without a license, my insurance.
Hold on just a second,
canceled.
David. My name is Marc. I'm going to see if I can fix this issue with the feed. That's maybe garbling things a little bit when we come back. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, and you can also go to markstevens.net to hear that. We'll be back here and taking your calls in just a few moments. The number is 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away, and we should be able to clear up this issue. Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Adventures in Legal Land, and, of course, the newly released Government Indicted. And what can you say? I don't know what the issue or issues were on the show today, and I do apologize for that, but we should be back up and running next week, and it won't be, it shouldn't be an issue. I can't take any more calls, so you got just me. But it gives me an opportunity to talk about some of the things that have happened, and I'm hoping that Calvin is going to be able to join me here on the show. So, Calvin, if you're on, just jump in whenever you're connected, and we'll take care of business. But it was one of those weeks again. There's always so much. This is the famous notebook. Working with a lot of people in Canada, and I spent a little more time this week because a lot of the American ones, they weren't in. There was a couple of days where they, because of the holiday. They took Friday off too. They took yesterday off, even though the holiday was Thursday. They also take Friday off. So, but we're kind of used to that. You like to think that there's less people that they're actually damaging in situations like that. But we got this office, and let's see. We've got this office, and I've mentioned this before here on the show. I've got this from the CRA, and what they did was, I'm asking for evidence, and we've got a lot of this on the show today where we're just asking for evidence. And again, it's a very simple thing. You could say that this piece of paper is like the Constitution. It's just a piece of paper, okay? And what evidence is there it applies to anybody? Now, in Canada, and I got this, we're going to talk about Sandra Snyder here. She's the one I'm going to be focused on. Sandra Snyder, and this is the Edmonton office, so we'll put that up there, the Edmonton office. And what they do here, this is where I asked, so we get the Canadian counterpart to the crap that we get from the IRS, where you ask for evidence, something very simple. You believe your Constitution and laws apply to me, just because I'm standing here, I'm physically in North America. Just give me the evidence to prove it. And they come back and they said, for details and current information with respect to Canadian tax laws, I invite you to visit the CRA website on the internet. And they send you to, I think I may have linked this in another show. What they do is they send you to these 9 myths. So it's even easier for them to point out how asking for evidence is a myth. Okay, or just some frivolous argument. It's not. So it was Deborah Flowers that sent this to me. So I spoke to the supervisor, Deborah Krause, and she didn't think that there was anything wrong with this. She thought that by going to she actually gave me a number. She said that, well, this number says that the courts have determined that a person, by virtue of the statute, person means, every person is a taxpayer. And I said, but what evidence do you have that the code, whatever it happens to say, actually applies to these people just because they're physically in Canada? And of course, she didn't have any of that. So, and she wasn't going to budge. Even though there was no evidence, that when you ask for evidence the Constitution laws apply, and you give me the opinion of some Lord Chancellor, that's just an opinion. It's not evidence, but that's basic stuff we all know here at the show. So I got to talk. It took a while, but I finally got Sandra Snyder, who is Deborah Krause's boss. And now I'm 2 levels up. Okay, we've gone 2 levels up in the Edmonton office of the Canadian Revenue Agency. And her name is Sandra Snyder. Sandra Snyder. And she was, and I'm asking the same basic question. I want to know what evidence they have to show that the Constitution laws apply. How many times do you have to ask the same question? If they had evidence, they'd give it to you, which is why you have the fact not appearing is presumed not to exist. It's an ancient maxim of law. Again, the fact not appearing is presumed not to exist. Until it's here, until you can show me, until you can verify, it doesn't exist. So she didn't want to be recorded. So there's no recording of this, which is why I'm going to relate it this way. But I have my notes. She did not want and then I had to tell her later, I kind of understand why you didn't want to be recorded. Some of the things that she said were just they should be for the call of shame, because you get the dumbest responses. No, I didn't get the. Actually, I think it's better than I'm not telling you that Richard was told. She was saying that the fact that they filed a tax return is evidence that the Constitution and laws applied. I said, but weren't they forced to do that? They only filed under threat, duress, and coercion if a return was filed. I don't even think here a return was filed. So, but if a return was filed, it was only done under threat, duress, and coercion. They did it to avoid going to jail. And she tried to fight me on this. Well, not fight, but she resisted the obvious truth. And this is what seemed to be a thread throughout this call, that she did not like the gun in the room being exposed. And I'll get into this hopefully. Yeah, we got enough time. Near the end of the call, I'm pretty certain she was on the verge of tears. But before we get to that, what we were talking about is, where she agreed that it was just an opinion that they were required to file until there is a letter in the Minister of National Revenue, till there is a letter. In Canada, and I've reported this on the show before, the CRA believes when you get a letter from the computer that is evidence that their laws apply to you. I said, you do realize that's a computer-generated opinion. That's not evidence. Well, we consider it evidence. You do agree it's an opinion, no, right? You can see where she didn't want this recorded. So I asked her, look, let's just cut through all the political crap. What evidence do you have that the Constitution and laws apply to Mr. and Mrs. X? And she said, the Income Tax Act. So I said, wait a minute. You're saying that evidence the Constitution and laws of Canada apply is the Income Tax Act? Yes. What evidence do you have that the Income Tax Act is applicable in any way? She said, well, that's in the Constitution. I know a lot of people may say, well, what part of the Constitution would actually lead you to believe that? I recognize, after doing this for so many years, I recognize circular logic when I hear it. So now but I got to get agreement first. So wait a minute. So your position is the evidence the Constitution and laws apply is the Income Tax Act. Yes. And the evidence that the Income Tax Act applies is the Constitution. Yes. Isn't that just circular logic? The one is evidence of itself. They're each evidence of each other. She said, no. I said, well, let me ask you again. The Constitution is evidence. I know, it's starting to hurt my head just explaining it back. So I repeat it back. She admits. She says, well, it's kind of circular. So I wrote it down. I wrote it down because I couldn't get an audio recording of it. And I said to her, but that's like being kind of pregnant. So she laughed. Yeah, so you agree it's not kind of circular. It is circular. And she agreed. She agreed. I'm going to finish up the conversation that I had with her when we get back here on the No State Project, here on LRN.FM. You're listening to the No State Project for November 30th, 2013. We'll be back here in just a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Adventures in Legal Land and also Government Indicted, which you... Good gosh. Well, that sucks. Yeah, well, I'm back. I got dropped off there. You with us, Calvin? No, no, it was the other program that you and I are connected on. That just that mumble that just it dropped me. So but welcome back to. No, well, I don't even have the Skype connected. But welcome back to the No State Project, everyone. I want to finish, Calvin, what I was talking about before with Sandra Snyder, who is a supervisor in the Edmonton office of the Canadian Revenue Agency, and she admitted that it was at first that her position that the code, the evidence the code was applicable was the Constitution, and evidence the Constitution was applicable was the code. That she said to me, well, it's kind of circular, and then I said, well. Oh, that's like being kind of pregnant. And so she laughed and she realized so she admitted it was circular, but they weren't going to. I said, so if it's circular, you don't really have any evidence. So if you have no evidence that the law is applicable, why continue attacking these two people? And this is what she said to me, because it's different. Now hold on to your chairs there, everybody, okay? This is what she said. This is drug. She said it's different because it's legislative law. Yeah, but who says legislative law? What is that? What does it even mean? Legislative law. I mean, that's just so. This conversation took about it took 11 minutes, and as we were getting near the end of the call, I just lay everything out on the line. Look, but you're admitting you have no actual evidence. And yet you're going to forcibly take these people's property. Because we had already previously, Calvin, talked about how there's threats of jail, and she admitted that it's on a threat, duress, and coercion. She actually admitted that. We're done exposed it, and now it's really coming because I used the S word with her. I used the S word, and so I said, so what you're basically doing by forcibly taking these people's property with no evidence of jurisdiction at all is you're basically stealing their property. And she gets really upset. And she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. I mean, believe it or not, she doesn't want to talk to me anymore because I'm calling the forcible taking of someone's property stealing. Yeah. Yeah. And so I had asked her, what's the factual difference between you forcibly taking their property and someone just stealing their property? It's the same act. So she said, I don't want it. That's it. From this point forward, I'm like, well, you don't have to hang up on me. And she does. But I said, wait a minute. Are you offended? She says, yes, I am highly offended. You're offended because I'm calling the forcible taking of their property stealing? She says, that's right. And I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I do believe that she was on the verge of tears. As she hung up on me, I probably ruined the rest of her afternoon. And yeah. Well, before she hung up, I'm not expecting anything. I know that she had said I had to put everything in writing, and I said, well, why should I ask you for evidence in writing when you've just admitted you have none by saying it's circular, that your entire position is circular logic? Why would I have to put it in writing? I already have. I just need you to stop. You're the supervisor. Yeah, do the right thing and stop. But I agree, and I think you're right that the reason why she got so emotional at the end was that I did touch a nerve because maybe for the first time in her entire life, it's come out how dishonest of a system she works for, or she's in an integral part of. She is overseeing the mass theft of peaceful people's property. and I guess if I was doing that and I was completely unaware that it was theft, or I just put the blinders on and didn't want to see the truth, which is a very common human flaw, then yeah, I think it would affect me deeply. I mean, hell, if I'm late on an order, it bothers me, and I wind up, overcompensating because I don't like the idea of having somebody who I made a promise to, I gave my word on an order or something, and I didn't follow through. So I can't imagine. Well, I think it's kind of like you look at a cost benefit analysis. What is going to hurt me more? What is going to be more emotionally and professionally damaging? Not being able to admit that there's any evidence to show the laws apply to the people that I'm attacking every day, or to look kind of silly making logical fallacies and just doubling down on the the force. Yeah, they bend over backwards, and it's not because it's a stupid question. It's not because and let me address this because well, it's self-evident. A self-evident truth can still be proven. That's why it's self-evident, and because it's easily proven, not because you've proven it 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times before. Something is self-evident because the truth of it is just so obvious, but you can prove it. That's Yeah, well, the fact that there's no obligation to pay taxes is self-evident. You know, well, see, I can because there's no actual because the Constitution is nothing but a written instrument from 230 something years ago. No one bothered to sign. If it had any obligation or if it was binding on anybody, it's only as a contract. It doesn't even purport to be a contract in the text of the document itself. And if anybody did, and I'm paraphrasing Lysander Spooner, of course, and if anyone did sign it in any way to make themselves responsible, they could only bind themselves, and they're all dead. They're all dead, long dead. Right. Right. Unfortunately, we are out of time here on the No State Project. Calvin, next time maybe we can get you on longer. Always a pleasure to be able to do the show with you. My name is Mark Stevens. This is the No State Project for November 30th, 2013. And remember, government, it's just a group of men and women doing business at the barrel of a gun. If they were looking to protect your life, liberty, and property, they wouldn't be the first ones threatening to take it. So until next week, salud.